The biggest anime franchise on Earth was created by someone nobody has ever seen. They communicate through a cartoon alligator in glasses. The studio behind it got raided by tax police weeks before the show ever aired. And one single episode turned the whole thing into a phenomenon. These are 10 weird facts about Demon Slayer. Fact 1. The ghost behind the biggest anime ever. Here's what we actually know about the person who created Demon Slayer. Their pen name is Koyoharu Gotug. They were born on May 5th, 1989. That's it. That's most of what we've got. Koyoharu Gotug. The author uses a pen name and has chosen to maintain their anonymity. They've never disclosed their gender, never appeared on camera, never done an audio interview. In an age where every creator is expected to be a brand, Gotug is a ghost. To represent themselves publicly, the author uses an avatar of an alligator wearing glasses, which has become their signature symbol. And yet, this invisible person made history. In February 2021, Gotug was included in Time's list of 100 most influential people, making them the first manga artist to receive that recognition. By July 2025, the manga had over 220 million copies in circulation worldwide, a franchise worth billions. And we have more personal information about most VTubers than we do about the human being behind Demon Slayer. That anonymity becomes even more striking when you learn how they got here, because the road to Demon Slayer was not smooth. Fact 2. 4 one-shots before the hit. In 2013, Gotug debuted in the 71st Jump Treasure Newcomer Manga Awards with a one-shot called Kagarigari. The story followed demon hunters in Taisho-era Japan, wielding swords, clashing against monsters. The editors noticed it immediately. But it didn't become a series. Over the next 2 years, 3 more one-shots followed. None of them got serialized. There was also a prototype called Kisatsu no Nagare, but it was rejected during a serialization meeting due to its serious tone, lack of comic relief, and dark story. That's when everything changed. Gotug's first editor, Tatsuhiko Katayama, suggested starting a series with an easy-to-understand theme. We encourage Gotug to think of a character who could live closer to the reader's feelings. Tatsuhiko Katayama, editor. Katayama asked for a brighter and more normal protagonist. Gotug responded by mentioning a charcoal-selling boy, who was originally intended as a supporting character. The story was rebuilt around that boy, giving birth to Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, serialized in Weekly Shonen Jump, starting February 2016. A hero defined not by rage but by kindness, because an editor asked for one. The studio that would turn Tanjiro into a global phenomenon, that has its own strange origin story. Fact 3. The studio built around a table. Ufotable is a Japanese animation studio founded in October 2000 by former telecom animation film producer Hikaru Kondo. He needed a name, and his inspiration was furniture. Kondo had found quite the interest in a designer table in Scandinavia that has the shape of a UFO, and Kondo, really wanting this table, named his new anime studio after it. The studio's namesake is a table that looks like a UFO that the founders wanted, which they now have and bring around to conventions. Charming name, radical philosophy underneath. As of March 2024, Ufotable had 256 employees, a fraction of the size of most Hollywood animation houses. But what makes them different isn't just size. While most anime studios rely heavily on freelancers and take on a large number of simultaneous projects, Ufotable is one of a handful of studios organized to do as much work as possible in-house, while concentrating their time and energy on only a few projects at a time. Kondo's dream was a studio where creators could gather around a table and, regardless of their standing and specialty, have a say. That philosophy would be tested to its absolute limit with the Infinity Castle film. When digital chief Yuichi Terao ran initial rendering calculations for the film's gravity-defying architecture, the figure came back hopeless. It would take 10 years to complete. Yuichi Terao, the digital chief. Ufotable expanded its facility, brought in high-speed machinery, and adopted an all-hands approach. The entire film took roughly 3.5 years to finish, with an estimated budget of approximately $20 million. Now, imagine what happened when this quality-obsessed, fully in-house team got their hands on a full Shonen Jump series, their first ever, from the same studio known for the Fate Stay Night anime adaptations. Fact 4. Episode 19 changed everything. It's August 2019. Demon Slayer has been airing for 18 weeks. It premiered during a quiet spring 2019 anime schedule with some initial hooks for fans, but the first core came and went without much fanfare. Then, episode 19 drops. Hinokami, Tanjiro's fight against Rui, the moment he taps into the Hinokami Kagura for the first time. The animation was so far beyond anything the series had shown. A sacred fire dance, Nezuko's blood igniting on Tanjiro's blade, threads of demon silk dissolving in light, that it didn't just trend, it detonated. The sequence went immensely viral on social media, and it wasn't just fans who were floored. The original author, Koyoharu Gotug, was reportedly moved to tears by what Ufotable had done with the scene. Immediately following the episode, Demon Slayer began trending worldwide and the manga started breaking all sorts of sales records. One episode, 24 minutes, and the entire trajectory of a franchise, and arguably the industry, shifted permanently. And the numbers that followed, they're unlike anything the manga industry has ever seen. If you're someone who watches anime to feel something, you already know what this show does to people. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, because we're only halfway through and the wildest facts are still coming. Fact 5. The most insane sales spike in manga history. When the Demon Slayer anime premiered in April 2019, the manga had modest circulation, respectable for Jump, but nowhere near the top tier. By the end of that year, it was the company's second highest seller, behind only One Piece. Then 2020 happened. For the first time since Oricon began reporting its book ranking charts in April of 2008. One franchise, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, took the top 22 slots on the ranking chart, all 22 volumes. One Piece broke in at spot 23. The total, 82,345,447 copies sold in a single year. The second place title, Kingdom, managed 8,251,058. 10 times the runner-up, Demon Slayer didn't just outsell the competition, it lapped it. This wasn't gradual word of mouth. This was an avalanche triggered by one anime adaptation, one studio, and one episode that went viral. And the anime that triggered all of this was about to do something even more unprecedented, in the worst possible circumstances. Fact 6. Mugen Train, the pandemic phenomenon. In October 2020, while most of the world was still locked down, Japan cautiously reopened cinemas under strict capacity limits. Ufotable released the Mugen Train film into a landscape where nobody was going to the movies. What happened next made Hayao Miyazaki's 19-year-old record look fragile. Mugen Train dethroned Spirited Away as the highest-grossing film in Japanese box office history, a record Miyazaki had held since 2001. The film earned 40.75 billion yen in Japan and went on to gross over $512.7 million worldwide, making it the highest-grossing film of 2020. It marked the first time ever that a non-American production topped the annual global box office. Not a Pixar film, not a Marvel film. A Shonen Jump anime about a boy on a train, produced by a mid-sized Japanese animation studio. Outperformed every Hollywood blockbuster released that year. The numbers speak for themselves. But here's the thing about Ufotable in 2020. While they were making box office history, the studio's founder was facing criminal charges. Fact 7. The studio that got raided. In March 2019, it was reported that a search was performed on Ufotable's offices due to alleged tax evasion. The next month, it was reported that Ufotable owed 400 million yen in taxes. The timing is staggering. This happened weeks before episode 1 of Demon Slayer ever aired. In June 2020, both the studio and company founder and president Hikaru Kondo were charged with violating the Corporation Tax Act and Consumption Tax Act by failing to pay 139 million yen, about $1.28 million in taxes. In July 2021, Kondo was formally indicted with evading 137 million yen in taxes by the Special Investigation Department of the Tokyo Public Prosecutor's Office. In September 2021, Kondo admitted to evading 138 million yen in taxes at a preliminary hearing by the Tokyo District Court. He received a suspended sentence. The studio was fined. Ufotable acknowledged the indictment and gave assurance that the company had already filed a corrected tax return and paid the appropriate amount. The conviction came while Ufotable was deep in production on the Infinity Castle trilogy. Kondo remains head of the studio to this day, and the creator whose story they were adapting had already made a decision that baffled the entire industry. Fact 8. Gotug ended the manga at its peak, on purpose. Demon Slayer was published in Weekly Shonen Jump from February 2016 to May 18, 2020. That final date is what matters here. At that exact moment, the manga was the single most popular comic in the world. Sales were breaking records weekly. The anime had announced a movie. The franchise was printing money at a rate Jump hadn't seen in years, and Gotug ended it. 205 chapters, 23 volumes, done. In the Shonen Jump world, this almost never happens. Popular series run for years, sometimes decades. The financial incentive to continue is overwhelming. Rumors flew, family illness, burnout, editorial pressure, fans speculated endlessly. But the simpler explanation appears to be the truth. The story was finished. Gotug told the story they wanted to tell and they stopped. According to translations of the official fan book, Gotug later mentioned wanting to draw a science fiction romantic comedy that will make people laugh until their stomachs hurt. They mentioned watching old alien movies for reference. No timeline, no announcements, just a quiet dream, shared through a fan book. After Demon Slayer, I want to draw a science fiction romantic comedy. Koyoharu Gotug via official fan book 2. The Invisible Creator, stepping away at the height of fame, dreaming about aliens and love stories. And the franchise they left behind? It was about to become the biggest anime movie ever made. Fact 9. Infinity Castle, the biggest anime movie in history. On opening day, Infinity Castle earned 1.65 billion yen with 1.16 million admissions, the highest opening day in Japanese box office history. Globally, the film earned over $780 million, including over $130 million from US moviegoers alone. It had the largest opening weekend of any anime film in North American history and went on to become the highest grossing international film ever released in the United States. Over $780 million worldwide. The biggest anime movie ever made. Period. And remember, this came from a production with an estimated budget of approximately $20 million. For context, an average Pixar film cost $175 to $200 million. Ufotable achieved visual quality that competes with studios spending 10 times as much, because their in-house pipeline maximizes every dollar. The Oscars official YouTube channel released a behind-the-scenes short showcasing Ufotable's process. The film took home the Animation of the Year award at the Tokyo Anime Award Festival in early 2026. The Infinity Castle wasn't just a movie, it was proof of concept, and the story isn't over. Fact 10. The trilogy continues. Infinity Castle is part 1 of 3. The decision to adapt the final arc as a theatrical trilogy was made during the run of Mugen Train, meaning Ufotable has been building toward this conclusion for half a decade. Part 2 has no confirmed release date, but the earliest possible window is 2027. Part 3 is reportedly targeting 2029. Director Haruo Sotozaki has hinted that fan favorite Inosuke will finally have his time to shine in the sequel. And then there's Netflix. Reports have indicated the streamer is looking at a live-action Demon Slayer adaptation. Nothing has been officially confirmed, and given the mixed track record of live-action anime, fans are cautious. An Invisible Creator, 4 failed one-shots, a studio named after furniture that got raided by tax police, 1 god-tier episode, a pandemic film that topped the global box office, a manga ended at its peak, and now a trilogy rewriting anime box office history, with 2 installments still on the way. That's Demon Slayer. That's the story behind the story. Demon Slayer isn't just a great anime, it's what happens when the right story meets the right studio at the right time, and survives everything that should have stopped it. What hit you hardest? Drop it in the comments, like the video, subscribe, and we'll keep digging into the stories behind the anime you love. And if you want to see how another studio defied the odds to make anime history, that video's on screen right now. Bonus fact. Demon Slayer goes to the ballpark. Before the 2025 MLB Tokyo Series, Major League Baseball and Demon Slayer released an official anime short, produced by Ufotable, with Aniplex and the MLB credited for planning. The short featured anime versions of the Dodgers' Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, and the Cubs' Seiya Suzuki and Shota Imanaga. Urokodaki, Tanjiro's masked mentor, narrated the proceedings as commentator. And the best part? Ohtani used his own technique. Battle breathing, first form. Overpowering home run. The connection almost nobody caught. The first time an American baseball team ever went to Japan was in 1913. Early in the Taisho period, the exact era Demon Slayer takes place in. Even the crossovers have lore.